It smelled too quiet. That's the only way to describe it. My farm, with its weathered barns and fields dotted with grazing goats and clucking hens, had always been alive with the sounds of life. The morning chorus of bleating goats, the rhythmic clucking of hens, and the occasional snort of my curious pony at the gate created a symphony of rural charm. But as I parked my pickup after 2 days away at an agriculture summit in D.C., unease tingled at the back of my mind. Stepping outside, I was met with an eerie stillness, the air unnaturally calm and oppressive. The faint smell of bleach lingered, sharp and out of place amidst the familiar sense of hay and earth. My gut twisted in apprehension as I hurried toward the main barn, heart racing with the dark anticipation creeping over me, a sinking feeling that something was terribly wrong. Pushing through the heavy barn door, I was greeted by a haunting silence, the kind that sends a chill down your spine. Empty stalls stretched before me like tombs. The absence of the warmth I had always associated with this place hit me like a wall. The feed buckets hung, bare and forgotten, a pitiful reminder of routines disrupted. My heart raced, dread exploding in my chest. Where were my animals? And then I saw it, the first sign of calamity. A heavy lock had been cut clean off the barn door. My breath caught in my throat as I stepped closer, a wrinkled notice flapping against the wooden frame, duct tape peeling away in the breeze. The heading read, HOA Livability Compliance Enforcement, Final Notice of Removal. A cold rage ignited within me as I ripped the notice free, my pulse quickening as I skimmed over the carefully chosen words, a bureaucratic cloak for cruelty. I pushed deeper into the barn, desperation urging my legs forward. The stalls screamed their emptiness at me, only silence answering my frantic call for my goats, my beloved chickens, the animals that had been an integral part of my family. I stumbled back outside, shaking, my heart shattered. That's when I saw my wife standing in the doorway of our house, her expression a mirror of my own panic. Mascara streamed down her cheeks, her red-rimmed eyes raw with distress. She didn't need to say a word. She held out her phone, shaking, a silent plea for comprehension. The screen glowed ominously, the email thread vivid against the dark backdrop of our reality. Cornita Sloan, the HOA president, had orchestrated this assault on our home, declaring my animals unauthorized and forcibly removed. The final heinous twist, euthanized for community health and compliance. I collapsed to my knees in the barn, the ground hard beneath me, as waves of anguish crashed over me. This was the spot where my daughter's rescue lamb, Clover, had taken her first wobbly steps. Now, it felt like a sacred ground scorched by violation. 2 nights were all it took for the HOA to dissect my family and kill what we had built. My trembling hands gripped the ground as fury and heartbreak mixed bitterly in my gut. They had enacted their twisted version of justice while I was away, toys of authority and malice wielded against livestock I cherished. 3 weeks earlier, I had attended the last homeowner association meeting out of courtesy, a quiet man reluctant to flex the authority installed within my title as the state's director of agriculture. In that meeting, I had faced the icy disdain of Cornita, who stood at the podium, pastel blazer clashing with the stark realities she fabricated in her complaints about rural nuisances. Her sharpened words aimed not at my produce, but at the living beings that had stolen her idyllic suburban worthiness. Even then, I had tried to reason with her. I had documented evidence showing my farm was zoned for agriculture, exempt from her petty complaints. The truth was simple. My farm predated the HOA by nearly 2 decades. But Cornita had cultivated a small army of supporters, neighbors whipped into a frenzy over imagined grievances and swayed by her deception. We voted, she had declared, poison dripping from her smile. This community has spoken. The meeting had been a sham, hardly cordial. A split decision had left me unprepared for the hostile expedition that would follow. They had taken the vote as a mandate, and through that twisted lens, I had witnessed blatant disregard for my home. But they didn't realize who I was. I tried to keep my composure, reminding them that removing animals from private property could constitute theft and cruelty, a direct violation of state agriculture. But she had smirked, chin tilted defiantly. "Then sue us," she had replied. laughter lacing her tone like a predatory wolf's. I hadn't sued, not right away. Instead, I filed for an internal review, hoping to mend fences instead of burning them. Most overreaching HOAs crumbled when the state came knocking. But while I was away, they seized the opportunity to strike first, and not just with rhetoric. Innocent lives were extinguished. My mind reeled as I remembered the email thread, the hollow justifications dangling like shards of glass in front of me. The HOA's excuse was a flimsy piece of paper referencing a pest abatement mandate from years past, an order repealed nearly a decade ago. They had twisted facts, playing puppet master to a calamity disguised as compliance, citing that my animals were unvaccinated when I had personally overseen their health inspections. Not only had they usurped authority, but they had also hired a sketchy contractor, Rural Habitat Solutions, who had only one job: remove and exterminate livestock. No state license, no veterinary credentials, and not a soul interested in humane treatment. Irony dripped thick in my throat. They'd claimed compassion while orchestrating murder. As I sat in that empty barn, the reality crashed over me. My goats, my chickens, all gone. I could almost hear their last cries meld with the quiet breeze that now carried their absence. Just then, my neighbor Dave, a rugged Vietnam vet with an indomitable spirit, appeared, bourbon in hand and a fierce glint in his eye. "They're doing it to all of us," he said. "Fines for rain barrels. Claims my compost pile is attracting rodents. I've seen nothing but mice." The fire in his words sparked something within me. I described the security footage I'd seen. The white unmarked truck parked near my barn, masked figures sneaking in, hatching their transgressions against everything we cherished. It was time to transform grief into action, fury into justice. That night, as we stood in my field under a sky teeming with stars, the weight of our shared anger washed over us, and my daughter skipped outside, clinging to Clover's old ribbon. She looked up at me, eyes wide, and asked a question that shattered the remnants of my resolve. Did they think animals don't have feelings? With her innocence weighing heavily on my heart, I found my voice. "They'll pay for what they've done," I murmured, rage igniting anew. It was not just about my loss anymore. It was about every quiet farmer bullied into submission by an HOA fueled by entitlement. The following morning, as dawn light spilled into my office, I prepared for war. The silence still clung to the air, but in its wake, I crafted a plan, my righteous fury brewing, a mission to expose the truth. Cornita had awakened something in me that would not be silenced. I reached for the phone, the call to arms echoing in every word I spoke, assembling a coalition of quiet families in our community and readying ourselves for battle against an enemy lurking close. No, I wouldn't sue. I would dismantle their twisted empire, brick by brick, taking back not just what they had stolen, but reigniting the spirit of unity and resilience. The storm was coming. I could feel it brewing beneath the surface, and I would ride its waves to justice. The storm was coming. I could feel it brewing beneath the surface, and I would ride its waves to justice. As the sun rose, casting a golden hue over the farm, I gathered a small group of neighbors, men and women who understood the threat posed by the HOA. Each face around me mirrored my own resolve, their eyes glinting with an unspoken promise to fight back. "Dave," I said, looking at my neighbor, "you've seen it firsthand. You've been targeted too." He nodded, his jaw tight with unyielding courage. "We can't let them keep going like this." We delved deep into the details of our grievances, a carefully woven tapestry of complaints against the HOA. Each of us had been affected, like the elderly couple who had been fined for having a garden that was too colorful, or the family with the therapy rabbit that had been wrongfully taken from them. Together, we crafted a plan. Letters to local newspapers, testimonies to gather evidence for future court actions. Our collective voices would rise above the ominous silence those bureaucrats had imposed on us. But unknown to us, a darker malice lurked just beyond the horizon. As I scoured through documents late that night, sorting emails and complaints, a knock echoed through my home. My heart raced as I whipped around to face the door. Each cautious step I took felt heavier, burdened by the weight of the unknown. When I opened the door, Franklin Sloan stood on my porch, his expression twisted with a blend of arrogance and menace. My pulse quickened. "What do you want?" I asked, bracing myself. He unfolded a piece of paper. "I suggest you reconsider your little campaign." His voice dripped with disdain. "The HOA has decided they won't tolerate any disruptions. Think carefully about your next steps. You wouldn't want this to get messy." "Messy?" I shot back, anger flaring. "What are you threatening?" He smirked, a chilling glance that whispered danger. "You're playing with fire, my friend. This isn't a game you want to lose." With that, he turned on his heel and strolled away, leaving me standing dumbfounded, the note in my hand feeling like a ticking bomb. My adrenaline surged. I turned back inside and shared the confrontation with my wife, who immediately understood the implications. "He's warning you," she said, her brow furrowing. "You need to move faster." We decided to take his threats seriously. If they wanted a fight, we'd show them we meant business. I contacted the state agricultural officer first thing the next morning, laying out the bizarre circumstances surrounding the HOA's actions, ready to fight back with facts and meticulous evidence. Meanwhile, I reached out to those in our community who had suffered under the HOA's oppressive rule. By noon, we had set a meeting at my farm. As the sun dipped low in the sky, our little group assembled beneath the half-dilapidated barn that had once housed memories of shared laughter and love. Now, it would serve as our headquarters, a sanctuary fortified by the same dirt that cradled our lost livestock. I began. "They took our animals thinking they could silence us. But this isn't just about livestock. It's about reclaiming our rights, reclaiming our lives." The murmurs of agreement swelled around me. "We're done being afraid." At that moment, a rustling outside caught my attention, drawing eyes to the entrance. A figure loomed near the fence just beyond the barn, a hooded silhouette shifting in the shadows. Heart racing, I felt a prickling sense of danger. My instincts flared as I motioned to the group to stay hushed. As I crept forward, the figure turned to leave, but not before I caught a glimpse of a familiar face. Melinda, another member of the HOA, who had been a steadfast critic of rural animal farming. In that split second, I realized she was looking for information, spying on us, perhaps overhearing our plans. I scurried back to the group, a plan forming as I spoke the words. "She's a mole for the HOA, no doubt feeding them information about our movements." Conversations fizzled, replaced by tense expressions. Each one of us could feel the danger creeping closer. We needed a surveillance strategy. We needed proof of their underhanded dealings. But with Franklin's warnings still echoing in my mind, a sense of urgency permeated the air. "Let's set up cameras around the property," I suggested. "We need to document their every maneuver, every confrontation, before they can strike again." A dozen heads nodded in unison, the atmosphere charged with determination. We spent the next few days arming ourselves with evidence and bolstering our defenses. Each step felt like preparation for an inevitable confrontation, the air thickening with tension and anticipation. As we set up our surveillance, the days turned into nights filled with whispered conversations and apprehension hanging thick in the air. But nothing could prepare us for what happened next. One evening, my daughter rushed into the barn, her normally bright smile replaced by worry. "Daddy, I saw a white truck parked near our property," she exclaimed, breathless. Before I could respond, a sinister thought snaked through my mind. The unmarked vehicle that Dave captured on his security footage. It could only mean one thing. They were back, lurking in the shadows, ready to intimidate again. I glanced at my daughter, assuring her I would protect her, but the doubt gnawed at me. It wasn't just my farm in danger. It was our lives, our rights, everything we held dear. I scrambled to the surveillance monitors, adrenaline racing in my veins. The footage rolled in, a dark shadow passing near the barn, its presence skimming dangerously close to the edge of our sanctuary. My heart raced, thoughts colliding. Franklin's warning danced in my mind like a specter haunting me. As the darkness fell, we gathered in the barn, sharing tense looks under the dim lights. "They are trying to scare us into submission," I declared, the fire of resolve igniting, stoked by the fear woven through our community. Instead of backing down, we need to stand our ground. We draw a line. We face them head-on. With each word, a collective resolve filled the air. We would not be silenced. Not anymore. Our strength would come from unity, and together we were an unstoppable force. But little did we know, as we plotted our revenge, someone very close to us had already begun to turn the tide, and a betrayal was brewing in the shadows. Our strength would come from unity, and together we were an unstoppable force. But little did we know, as we plotted our revenge, someone very close to us had already begun to turn the tide, and a betrayal was brewing in the shadows. The days following our gathering blurred together, filled with late-night meetings, hushed conversations, and endless strategizing. Each morning, we reviewed the security footage, searching for any signs of foul play, while every night, we took turns standing guard around the farm, trepidation mingling with determination. One evening, as the sun was leveling out behind the trees, casting long, dark shadows across the fields, my phone buzzed, pulling me from my gathering of thoughts. It was a text from Dave. Come to the barn. Urgent. Asterisk. A chill ran down my spine, and I hurried to the barn, finding Dave pacing like a caged animal. The weight of worry hung onto his shoulders, his eyes darting to the shadows outside. What's going on? I asked, my heart pounding. He leaned in closer, dropping his voice as if someone might hear. I saw Melinda talking to a man last night. A guy in a white truck. Looked official, maybe police. His words crystallized a fear that had been gnawing at me since we had first spotted that ominous vehicle. They are not just watching us. They are planting seeds against us. I know it. What do you mean? I pressed, my stomach tightening. What's her angle? She's feeding them information, he murmured, and she has a grudge. Something about a family feud. Her uncle lives around here and had beef with a farmer. Think it's personal. My mind raced. Melinda was clever, and I had underestimated her. Then we need to play our cards right. If she's working with someone, we have to counteract whatever narrative she spins. That won't be easy, Dave replied grimly. She's good at turning people against each other. She might even be telling them we're harassing her or trespassing. The implications of his words struck me like a physical blow. We have to document everything, I insisted. Make sure we have proof. We can't let her twist the truth. With renewed urgency, we began discussing tactics. We needed to gather our allies and rally everyone to fortify not just our defenses but our narratives as well. More eyes on the ground would prevent Melinda from twisting our community against itself. That night, we called an emergency meeting, bringing in everyone willing to fight for their farms and their rights. As neighbors filtered into the barn, I saw the familiar faces of those who had endured the HOA's harassment, their expressions filled with a fierce determination. Thank you all for coming on such short notice, I began, feeling the electricity of resolve in the air. We're under threat, and the enemy is within our community. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Concern and curiosity grew palpable, hanging in the air like smoke. I continued. Melinda is feeding misinformation and aligning herself with a man who seems to be monitoring our activities. We don't know the extent of their plans, but we can't allow them to poison the well. It's our home, and we need to come together to protect it. As the meeting continued, an older farmer named Mr. Jenkins spoke up. I don't trust the HOA or their methods. We've allowed them too much power for too long. It's our time to reclaim it. His rasping voice infused the room with urgency. A chorus of support followed as more neighbors stood, recounting their experiences with the HOA and vowing to resist. Each declaration ignited the fervor within us, reinforcing our cause. But amidst my rallying cry, I caught a glimpse of someone slipping away out of the corner of my eye. Melinda. My heart sank. I rushed toward the exit but hesitated at the threshold. She had already seen too much. Let's not lose sight of our focus, I called back to the group. These discussions need to stay between us. No phones, no lingering eyes. As I slipped back into the shadows, I saw Melinda making her way toward the white truck parked a short distance away. The driver waited, his face obscured under the dim light of a single lamp. My gut twisted. I instinctively grabbed my phone, recording their interaction from the cover of darkness. Their hushed conversation sent chills racing through me. I couldn't hear the words, but the body language screamed of collusion. Melinda appeared agitated, gesturing emphatically. I needed to get closer, but fear rooted me in place, worried that any sudden move might expose my presence. Then, as if sensing the shift in the wind, the driver turned, his eyes narrowing as he instinctively scanned the shadows. My breath caught in my throat as I ducked lower behind the barn wall, hoping the angle of light would obscure me. It felt like an eternity until he turned back to Melinda, the discussion resuming. After a few more moments, I finally saw her stride away toward the house, the driver lingering just long enough to make me feel his eyes lingering on my hiding spot. My heart raced as I backed away, the tension buzzing in every vein. I would need to confront her, but not yet, not before I had solid evidence of their alliance. All at once, an idea sparked in my mind, a bold plan that could tilt this battle in our favor. As dawn broke the next day, I gathered Dave and a couple of other neighbors to discuss what I had witnessed. "We need to set a trap," I proposed, pacing the floor of our barn. "We'll stage a false meeting and catch her in the act. If we can expose her plans, turn the whole HOA against her, we'll reclaim the narrative." The others nodded, enthusiasm igniting in their eyes. "But we will need proof of everything," Dave reminded me. "We need to document her actions, prove she has been lying." "Let's make our story compelling," I replied, a sense of conviction creeping in. "We'll put pressure on the HOA as they put pressure on us." The details fell into place over the next few days. We would set up a stage meeting near the edge of the property, and we would tap into the surveillance cameras, ensuring nothing slipped through the cracks. Finally, the day arrived. As I prepared the campfire for our meeting, my heart raced with apprehension and excitement. Melinda took the bait, showing up like clockwork. "Sorry I'm late," she said with a feigned sweetness, her tone grating against my nerves. She had no idea what was waiting for her. As she started her rehearsed insults, the sound of the camera clicking into place sent adrenaline coursing through me. Little did she know, her facade was about to shatter. The plot thickened as the shadows lengthened around us, anticipation crackling in the air like a summer storm. The stakes had never been higher, and I was ready to confront the darkness that had taken root in our community. As Melinda launched into her schemes, I watched for a weakness, the right moment to bring her lies crashing down like a house of cards. The truth beckoned, whispering that our fight was only just beginning. The battle between us was personal now, and I vowed to unleash a storm that she would never see coming. The truth beckoned, whispering that our fight was only just beginning. The battle between us was personal now, and I vowed to unleash a storm that she would never see coming. As I stood, hidden from view, my pulse thrummed in my ears as Melinda continued to weave her tale of deceit. She stood in the dim light cast by the campfire, an actor in a play no one else knew we were writing. With every word that spilled from her lips, I felt the brewing storm inside me. This time, I would not let her control the narrative. "Did you hear what they said about us?" she said to her imaginary audience, sarcasm dripping from her tone. "The nerve. They think they can just keep their animals willy-nilly, flaunting our rules." I clenched my fists, ready to expose her words for the lies they were. In the crackling shadows, Dave and the others fixed their eyes on me, their anticipation almost palpable. I could feel the weight of the moment, the pivotal crossroads that lay ahead. Finally, it was time. "Melinda," I called out, stepping into the light. The fire illuminated my face, casting dark shadows around her. Her expression shifted from surprise to shock, her eyes widening as the weight of the moment sank in. "You've been lying to everyone." She spun around, a mix of outrage and panic crossing her features. "What are you talking about?" she hissed, her mask slipping. "I've been watching," I retorted, feeling a surge of adrenaline propelling me forward. "You've been feeding the HOA false information, trying to turn our neighbors against us. But the truth is about to come to light. I raised my phone, showing the footage captured from the shadows. You're nothing but a puppet for them. Gasps whispered through the small gathering of our supporters. I could see uncertainty rippling through the crowd, but Melinda's eyes narrowed defiantly. You think you can manipulate people with lies, she sneered, regaining her composure. You'll need more than that. But this was it, the moment I had planned for. I've got everything on this device, I said, brandishing my phone like a sword. Your conversations with that man in the white truck, plotting to undermine us. The times you slandered our efforts. Every moment you sought to divide this community. There was a hush, the atmosphere shifting palpable. Even Dave's eyes widened in disbelief. We have enough to expose her for who she really is, I declared. Just then, a sudden gust of wind swept through the night, scattering a few embers from the campfire, illuminating Melinda's face more menacingly. You're a fool, she shouted, fury surging like a wildfire. You don't understand what you're up against. I will not be silenced. You think this is just about animals. Then what is it about? I demanded, my voice steady despite my thundering heart. What could possibly justify your betrayal of our community? Her expression morphed into something dangerous. It's not just animals. This is about control, power. It's always been. The HOA isn't just trying to silence you. They're trying to establish order. And if you think you can bring us down, you will learn the hard way that the bigger picture is far more than any of us realize. Before I could respond, a sharp crack pierced the air, a sound like a gunshot. Panic erupted as everybody scattered, adrenaline forcing us into chaos. Get down! I shouted, hitting the ground, my heart racing, as another shot rang out. I had never been trained for moments like this, my instincts driving me, urging me to protect everyone with whatever I could muster. But it was chaos. People scrambled, ducking behind trees and seeking shelter. Melinda dropped to the ground, a glint of satisfaction sparking in her eye, and for a brief moment, I was swallowed by fear. Then realization hit me. It had all been a setup. Had Melinda orchestrated this? Was she in league with the truck driver, creating an environment of chaos to distract from her schemes? My heart dropped. Just as I regained my footing, I turned around, scanning for the source of the gunfire. But before I could even breathe, another wall of sound erupted, this time closer to my left. I bolted in that direction, desperate to find safety and protect my friends. As I pushed through the underbrush, I caught sight of a flash of a white truck speeding off, tires screeching against the gravel, as my neighbor, Mr. Jenkins, stood by the road, his jaw hanging open, a shotgun clutched in his hands. I got him, he yelled, adrenaline fueling his voice. By the time that driver realizes he's hit a dead end, it'll be too late. Did you shoot at him? I gasped, incredulous. The implication struck me like lightning. He took a shot at us first. Mr. Jenkins' face was thunderous, rage twisting his expression. Damn those HOA folks. I'm done being afraid. Rushing back toward the barn, I rallied the remaining neighbors. We need to regroup. We need to protect each other. This isn't just about us. It's about our home. In the confusion, we gathered with a single intent, to stand our ground against whatever storms were brewing. But even as I felt the surge of camaraderie enveloping us, something deeper gnawed at me. Melinda had always known how to play people against each other. What was her next move? And could we trust everyone with the knowledge we had now? With trembling hands, I pulled out my phone again, flashing the footage of the gathering crowd. We need to share this. Go to social media. Tell everyone what's happening. We can't let the HOA control our narrative any longer. And just as the plan crystallized before us, I felt a crack of splintering wood behind me, a figure emerging from the shadows. In the chilling moonlight, I caught sight of Melinda again. Pale and frightened, her lips trembled, but her voice shot through the air like a bolt of lightning. You have no idea what you're up against, she screamed, but her eyes flickered with fear. And then, it clicked. The figure had a knife glimmering in her hand. Not just a threat, an indication that she didn't just want to defeat us, She wanted us silenced for good. "Step away," I shouted, raising my phone like a shield. "Stand down." But as she stumbled back, something shifted behind her. The shadows parted to reveal more figures, an unsettling militia of HOA members stationed discreetly in the night, ready to strike. It was a trap, a meticulously crafted plan to eliminate us if we dared to challenge their authority. I had walked right into the web they had woven, and the threads were pulling tight. Time slowed, my heart pounding as the realization hit. This was more than a community conflict. It was a war for the very soul of our livelihoods. I could see it in the eyes of my neighbors. We had failed to see the enormity of the battle we faced. Melinda stepped forward, courage igniting her. "You don't understand. You're too late. The HOA is stronger than you can imagine. And this," she waved her knife wildly, gesturing to the growing crowd, "this is just the beginning." But with each word she spoke, a surge of determination washed over me. "And then let this be our endgame." In that split moment, we understood. Sure, the odds seemed dismal, but we had something they didn't: fire in our hearts and a community built on endurance and trust. As the first light of dawn began to break through the horizon, illuminating the battlefield, I heard a muffled shout from the back of the crowd. "We stand together. We fight together. For our homes." The entire community united around me, our collective voice swelling as we drew strength from each other, willing to confront this darkness head-on. Rallying together, we prepared to face whatever storm would come next, ready to battle not just for our farms, but for our lives, hearts, and identities. As we locked eyes with Melinda and the HOA members, a fierce echo resounded through the chilly morning air. This was just the beginning. The tide was turning, and while the outcome remained uncertain, one thing was for sure: we would emerge from the shadows triumphant, or perish trying, forever etched in our memories as a relentless tempest of the human spirit. The winds of change whipped around us, carrying the promise that the real battle was only just beginning. And this time, we would leave our mark in the annals of our community's history, a tale of resistance and resurgence, destined to be unforgettable.